They laughed first. Not out loud, nothing that crude, but the kind of laughter that lives in the eyes, the pause before someone answers you, the way a room decides you don't matter and moves on without you. I remember exactly where I was standing when it happened. Polished concrete floors, glass walls, the kind of place where every chair costs more than the car I drove that night. My daughter was beside me holding my hand too tightly, her fingers trembling in a way I pretended not to notice. Someone leaned over and said with a polite smile that cut deeper than any insult, "Sir, are you sure you're in the right place?" I smiled back. I always did. Years of practice, years of swallowing it. On paper, I was nothing special to them. No visible wealth, no name anyone recognized. Just another man who looked like he'd wandered into a world that wasn't built for him. They didn't know I owned half the companies funding that room. They didn't know I'd paid for the building they were standing in. And they definitely didn't know how close I was to walking out with my daughter and never coming back. That night wasn't about money, though. It never is. It was about control and how quickly it slips away when you need it most. My daughter Lena has been blind since birth. 8 years old, smart, curious, sensitive in ways that scare people who don't know how to slow down. Loud rooms overwhelm her. Too many voices at once feel like being pushed underwater. I'd learned how to manage it: quiet dinners, controlled environments, predictability, safety. Or at least that's what I told myself. That evening, everything went wrong at once. Silverware, clinking laughter echoing off hard surfaces, a piano warming up somewhere behind us. Lena stiffened. Her breathing changed. I felt it before I heard it. I bent down, whispered, "You're okay. I've got you." But my voice didn't reach her. It never does when panic takes over. People started watching. The polite concern turned into discomfort, then annoyance. That's when someone else stepped in. She didn't ask, didn't announce herself. She just knelt down right there on the floor like it was the most natural thing in the world. I was about to say something about boundaries, about space, when she started humming. Soft, low, almost casual. Not a performance, not a song meant to impress. Just a sound that made the air feel different. Lena's shoulders dropped. Her grip on my hand loosened. The panic drained out of her like someone had opened a valve. The woman, she wore a simple uniform, faded at the edges. Let Lena rest her fingers against her wrist, feel the vibration as she hummed. No rush, no pressure, just patience. I stood there like an idiot, frozen, watching my daughter calm down in 30 seconds when I'd spent years and thousands of dollars trying to make that happen. When the moment passed, the woman smiled at Lena, stood up, and walked away like nothing extraordinary had happened. Everyone else went back to their lives. I didn't. For the first time in a long time, I felt something sharp and uncomfortable settle in my chest. Gratitude mixed with shame, relief tangled up with something uglier, envy. Because whatever she had just given my daughter, I couldn't buy it. I found her later. I told myself it was to say thank you. That was the polite version. The truth is, I needed to understand how she'd done it. Her name was Rachel. We talked for a minute. She asked about Lena, asked how she was doing, didn't ask who I was, didn't hint at anything else. When I finally offered her money too much, if I'm being honest, she didn't even hesitate. "No," she said. Calm, firm, like she'd practiced saying it to men like me. I laughed, uncomfortable. Tried again, made it sound professional, structured, safe. She looked at me for a long second and said, "You think I did that because I needed something from you?" That one stung. I said something defensive. I don't remember exactly what it was, probably about opportunities, about how the world works. She let me finish, then said, "Your daughter doesn't need another adult trying to control her. She needs someone who listens." Then she walked away. I went home angry. At her. At myself. At the fact that someone I'd written off as invisible had seen my daughter more clearly than I ever had. A few days later, I heard Rachel lost her job. Officially, it was about professionalism, about stepping away from her duties. Unofficially, I knew exactly what happened. She'd disrupted the comfort of people who expect the world to orbit them quietly. I told myself it wasn't my problem. That lasted until 2 weeks later when Lena asked, "Why don't we sing anymore?" I didn't have an answer. The truth was ugly. I'd built my entire life on minimizing risk, controlling outcomes, protecting the things I loved by locking them away from anything unpredictable. But Lena wasn't fragile. She was just different. And I was the one treating that difference like a flaw. I called Rachel. She didn't pick up the first time, or the second. When she finally did, I said her name and waited for her to hang up. She didn't. I apologized. Not the polished kind, not the kind meant to smooth things over. I told her I'd been wrong, that I'd tried to buy my way out of listening, that I didn't know how to help my daughter without turning everything into a transaction. She was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, "If this is about you feeling better, don't do it. If it's about her, then maybe we can talk." We met in a public park, no contracts, no expectations, just space. Rachel didn't teach Lena to sing like a prodigy. She taught her how to breathe, how to feel rhythm in her own body, how to trust her voice even when it wavered. I watched from a distance at first. Old habits die hard. Then one afternoon, Lena waved me over. "You can stay," she said, not asking, telling. And I realized how rarely my daughter had invited me into her world instead of me dragging her into mine. The real humiliation came later. When people started noticing, when someone filmed, when opinions flooded in, praise, criticism, accusations, suddenly I was a headline instead of a man. My board wasn't thrilled. My friends were confused. Some were embarrassed. They asked why I was letting this happen. I almost gave in, almost shut it all down to restore order, to protect my image, to go back to silence. Then Lena said something I'll never forget. "If I stop singing now," she said, "it won't be because I'm scared. It'll be because you are." That was the moment I lost. And finally, won. I stepped back. I stopped managing, stopped explaining, stopped controlling the narrative. Rachel didn't become my employee. She became a constant, a presence, someone who treated my daughter like a person, not a problem to solve. And slowly, painfully, I changed too. I learned that being underestimated hurts, but being wrong about yourself hurts more. The people who laughed at me that first night, some apologized later. Some didn't. It didn't matter anymore. The victory wasn't watching them squirm, it was watching my daughter stand taller, speak louder, live, fuller. I didn't walk away triumphant. I walked away quieter, lighter. Now when rooms go silent as I enter, it's not because of my name or my bank account. It's because I'm listening. And here's what I want to know from you, because this part still keeps me up at night. Do you think people treat you differently because of money, or because money gives them permission to show who they really are? Tell me what you've seen.